Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather, now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, back in the home studio today. Glad to be with you. The phone number, 877-973-7425, should you wish to be on the program. Delighted to have you. We got to get, of course, to the breaking news. Hunter Biden has pled guilty. There's been an indictment filed, and he will plead guilty to a series of charges, gun case and tax misdemeanors. This, just to give it to you straight, President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, has reached a tentative agreement with federal prosecutors to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax crimes and to admit to the facts of a gun charge under terms that would likely keep him out of jail. Any proposed plea deal would have to be approved by a federal judge. Both prosecutors and the defense counsel have requested a court hearing at which Hunter Biden, age 53, can enter his plea. The court papers indicate the younger Biden has tentatively agreed to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges of failure to pay in 2017 and 2018. The combined tax liability is roughly $1.2 million over those years. Prosecutors plan to recommend a sentence of probation for those counts. There's also being on drugs while owning a gun. Handling the gun charge as a diversion case means he won't technically be pleading guilty to that crime. Diversion is an option applied to nonviolent offenders with substance abuse problems in federal criminal matters. Now, let me just break this down for you as someone who actually practiced criminal law. A first-time offender in these situations, it's kind of not surprising. If we can, and I know it's really hard for everyone, but take out Biden for just a minute. This is Joe Blow. Random Joe Blow in this situation, this would be fairly standard. You've never committed criminal acts before. It's misdemeanor tax counts for failure to pay taxes for 2 years. And it is a rarely prosecuted crime. The revelation in hindsight that someone was on drugs while possessing a gun is actually rarely prosecuted. And when it is prosecuted, it tends to be handled in this way, a diversion program, where it doesn't go on your record. You don't plead guilty for it as long as you complete the series of steps. It's left off your record. That's fairly standard for Joe Blow. But there's a problem here, obviously. This is the son of the President of the United States, and we have a laptop that the FBI had in possession that had a lot of other stuff on it. This just kind of reeks, frankly, when you add Hunter Biden into it and all the other information on the laptop. This kind of reeks of protecting the president's son. Now, the DA, or the U.S. attorney rather, says the investigation is ongoing. In his statement, he says the investigation is ongoing, but that with this, the tax issue is resolved. Now, the media read this initially to say this means that everything is wrapped up. That's not really true. The tax matters are now wrapped up. But the bribery issues and the others, according to the U.S. Attorney's statement, the investigation is ongoing. But do you believe it? There is something else here as well that must be added into this. And again, if you take the name Biden out of it and you call him Joe Schmo, John Smith, John Doe, first-time tax misdemeanors and the diversion treatment for the gun, fairly standard. But this is the thing that gets me. I continue to maintain that what happened on January 6th was not an insurrection, but it was bad. People did storm the U.S. Capitol. They did. They smashed through doors. They broke down windows trying to climb in. They were successful. They stormed the Senate floor. They took over Nancy Pelosi's office. But there were some people who just wandered in. You know, prior to 9/11, you could just walk into the U.S. Capitol. I know I did. I got engaged to my wife on the steps of the Capitol where the president gets sworn in. Now, we were going to go into Statuary Hall. And we rushed up the steps to the Capitol, and the security guard stopped and said, "Where are you going?" I said, "We wanted to go to Statuary Hall." He says, "You got to get in line." There was no line, and he pointed. The line was down the street and wrapped around the block. It was a massive line, and my wife said, I don't want to stand in that line. I had it all worked out. We were going to go into Statuary Hall. That's where you can be on one side, whisper to the other. I was going to get down on my knee. I was going to propose to my wife. Had it all worked out in my head. The line discombobulated me. And so I'm walking around trying to collect my thoughts, flustered. Where the heck are we going to go? And remember, these are the steps on which the president's sworn in. I can do it here. But at the time, you could. If there hadn't been a massive line to get in, we could have just walked in. I used to do that. When I would go to Washington, you just walk in the side door of the Capitol. You go through the metal detector and you're on your own. You roam free. There were a lot of people on January 6th who probably thought that was still the way it is, and they wandered into the Capitol, and they were prosecuted. And they were treated worse than Hunter Biden is being treated. There were a lot of bad people who are going to be punished and put in prison. But there were some grandmothers who just thought, you know, back in my day, we used to wander the Capitol as a kid. All these people wandering the Capitol. Let's go see what's going on. And that's indisputable, by the way. That is actually indisputable. That actually did happen. And some of those people were dismissed. They weren't punished, but some of them were because they lingered too long. There's no proof they did anything wrong. They didn't kick open doors. They didn't break windows. They didn't steal anything. They were just in there scoping it out. What's going on in here? Let's see what the action is. And they got punished worse than what Hunter Biden is getting punished. They really didn't do anything wrong. If we take Hunter Biden out of this, and it's an anonymous person, this is not a news story. This is rather standard pro forma practice. But when you add Hunter Biden into the story, and it's the president's son, and we have the laptop, and we've got all the allegations about bribery still left unresolved. We've got all the other issues that are still outstanding. This looks like a sweetheart deal to protect the president's son. When you add in the treatment of people who were wandering the Capitol on January 6th, who were not bad people, who were not there to be malicious, who just wandered in to see what all the fuss was about and how they got treated compared to how Hunter Biden is getting treated, it's a sense of injustice. You compound this with the way they're handling the former president of the United States, and there's a series of aggravations to the national discourse that are not good for us and our stability. The FBI had that laptop for quite a while. There are lots of allegations of them stymieing the investigation. It's notable that the statement of the U.S. attorney says that some of that is ongoing, even as others say the situation is resolved. But it feels like a double standard. I do wonder if they decided to go on and get this out because of the Trump situation. They wanted to get something out, and it's not settling anything. There's no settlement here. There's nothing to calm the tempers of the country right now in doing it this way. And again, I got to fully concede, as someone who did criminal work, as a lawyer, you take Hunter Biden out of this, it's pretty pro forma, pretty standard. This is what would happen. They would treat these as misdemeanors. They would treat them as misdemeanors. They probably wouldn't even pursue the gun issue. And if they did, they would treat it as diversionary. That is a fair statement. But when you add in the laptop and all the other information on the laptop and the email chains of the laptop and the treatment of people who wandered into the Capitol without malicious intent on January 6th and how they were treated, you add all this stuff together, and it really looks not fantastic. And there's something else here, too. Here at the end, I've got to point out something else. Last night, on Fox News, Donald Trump gave an interview to Bret Baier. And Bret Baier asked Donald Trump about all these people that Donald Trump hired when he was president of the United States. If you will recall, in 2015 and then again in 2016, Donald Trump said he would only hire the best people. It was only the best. That's who he was going to hire. Wouldn't hire any of those bad people. Only the best. Well, the person who brought the charges against Hunter Biden was appointed by Donald Trump. That's right. The person, the DA or the U.S. attorney involved, was handpicked by Donald Trump. And because of the conflict of interest due to the pending investigation of Hunter Biden, Joe Biden left the guy in place in Delaware. Joe Biden left the guy there to continue it because it would have been a conflict of interest for Joe Biden to remove that U.S. attorney. He fired all the U.S. attorneys except the one in Delaware. That one picked by Donald Trump and pushed by Bill Barr, the U.S. attorney or the attorney general at the time, to investigate Hunter Biden. So we have this series here where the Biden-appointed attorneys are tougher on perceived lawbreakers than the Trump ones. This is a true statement that you can't dispute. It's this true statement. I'm sorry if you don't like it. It was the Trump Justice Department that chose not to prosecute Hillary Clinton. And it is now the Trump appointed U.S. attorney who's chosen to go soft on Hunter Biden. But he hires only the best people. If we're outraged by this, and I think there's reason to be angry about what's happening when you see what's happening with Donald Trump and the papers, although had he handed them over, it's also true, had he given all the documents back, he wouldn't have been prosecuted. And he could take a plea and they would probably go easy on him. They probably would, believe it or not. First-time felon, septuagenarian, they'd go easy on him. But it's hard to look at this and feel like justice has been served, particularly when we know so much about the laptop. But again, it is just a statement of fact that the U.S. attorney who's chosen to go down this road is the one Donald Trump appointed, and the Donald Trump appointed Attorney General of the United States is the one who chose not to prosecute Hillary Clinton. And Trump says he only hires the best people. You do have to take that angle into account, and it may make some of you mad and feel like I'm dumping on Trump. I'm really not. I'm just pointing it out that before you start yelling about the Biden administration doing this and protecting Hunter Biden, they didn't pick this U.S. attorney. But the ones they did pick were far harsher in their push for sentencing of random grandmothers roaming the Capitol than Trump's U.S. attorney is of Hunter Biden. And that doesn't feel like justice. Vision Computer has over 3,000 five-star Google reviews and an average phone answer time of just 15 seconds. When you call, you won't be stuck navigating endless automated menus. A live person's going to answer the phone and help you solve your problems. You know, I run a business, and it's one reason I love the idea that Vision Computer exists, because as a business owner, you know you've got to be efficient, you got to have tech support issues resolved quickly, and you got to have your computers work. Don't let your employees suffer in silence either. They may be embarrassed or hesitant to ask for help, but with Vision support, they can get assistance they need to work more efficiently. Reach out to them. Call 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com. In fact, if you call them at 404-COMPUTE, Ask for the Eric Erickson special when you call. They're not going to have it on their website. It's just for you guys listening. Call 404-COMPUTE today. Ask for the Eric Erickson special. Be amazed at Vision Computer. Well, for the first time since May, Donald Trump is below 50% in major national polling for GOP choices. 47%. Still a significant number of Republicans say he's their first choice. Starting to decline, though. A trend as people's thinking of his indictment comes home. I wonder what the Hunter Biden indictment will look like. Now, a listener texted me and said, why resolve the tax issues when there's the issue of the bribery issue? And I suspect that's why the U.S. Attorney says this is ongoing. There are other aspects to the investigation we are led to believe are proceeding. And, of course, the House of Representatives is investigating as well. They're all out pretty loudly blasting this decision. James Comer, Jim Jordan, others. I have a hard time disagreeing with them on this because there's so much. Here's my problem. And again, I'm not trying to sound hypocritical or wishy-washy on this. If this was not Hunter Biden, if this was just regular run-of-the-mill person, this would be a fairly standard treatment with a plea. And I don't think any lawyer could disagree with me on that based on this set of facts that's bracketed around failure to pay taxes and the gun issue. The problem, though, is that it's really hard to bracket around these given what we know about the laptop and the information on the laptop. And there's more expansive information there. And it seems like they were trying to rush to get something out with Hunter Biden to say, look, we're going after Democrats as well. But it's a cop-out. That's my problem with it, is there's so much more there. If this was just tax issues and the gun issue, yes, this is normal. His name's John Doe. This is what you do. But his name's not John Doe. It's Hunter Biden. And those aren't just the only issues. We got a laptop full of bad stuff. That's the problem. But the president, the former president, has not done himself any favors. This is also true. Multiple things can be true at one time. And with the Trump stuff, had he just handed all the documents back, he'd have never been prosecuted. He had the opportunity, and he didn't do it. That's the problem on his side. Had he handed them over, and he made it worse. I got to get into the Bret Baier interview when we come back, because he made it worse last night. He all but admitted to committing a felony. Where were his lawyers? Donald Trump's interview with Bret Baier last night was ill-advised. It really was. Donald Trump should not have done the interview with Bret Baier. And interestingly enough, the Hunter Biden indictment today overshadows and distracts from the Trump interview last night with Bret Baier. And it's notable what he said and did not say and the question he was asked that he could not answer along the way. We'll get into that when we come back. But first, I got to tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can get 3 of them for less than $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. Now, what is it? For those of you new to the program, it is an air purifier, so it gets rid of the dust and the pollen and the stuff floating in the air. But more importantly, it eliminates odors, and that's how I use it. We don't have an exhaust vent in our kitchen. And so if I fry in the kitchen, particularly fish and shrimp, which my wife doesn't like to smell, I just fire up the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, and it wipes out those odors. Smoke odors, litter box odors, pet odors, wipes them out. I travel with one. They're small. You can hold it in your hand. And you just plug it into the wall or in a car with a USB cord. If we got a rental car, someone's been smoking in it, it works great to eliminate those odors. You can get 3 of them for less than $200, one for upstairs, downstairs, basement, travel bag, RV, wherever you need them. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is just Eric on the front page of the site. Go to EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Eric, E-R-I-C-K. You can get 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms, less than $200. You get free shipping. You start eliminating the bad odors wherever they may be with EdenPureDeals.com and the discount code Eric, E-R-I-C-K. We'll be back with the Bret Baier interview with Donald Trump. Oh, speaking of things that might not be popular. Well, before we get into all that, welcome back. The phone number 877-973-7425. Before we do all that, my call screener is allowing a phone call outside, he says, the ordinary, but it's from Ruth Mary, so we're going to take the phone call. How are you?
I'm fine. And, your screen caller, Chuck, he's a great guy.
Stop.
I really appreciate him.
Stop. Don't say nice things about him. That's not allowed.
No. I think another nice trip or money is good for him. So anyway, I'm calling because I'm so sick of all the politics things going on. It's same old. It's a soap opera. 6 months later, still the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to lighten up with a cooking question for you because I know that is one of your loves that you have in your life. And I used to do a lot of cooking and baking when I was in the military because, being overseas, as you know, American community stays together, and we did a lot of entertaining. And then when we came back to the States, I got away from that. Well, now I'm retired, and I want to get back into it. And one of the things I want to get into is bread making. And I wanted your advice on if you know of a good bread maker I can buy to make bread, and maybe some of the equipment other than grilling, Eric. I'm not into grilling like you are, but other than grilling, what other equipment should I invest in if I want to get back into cooking and baking and so forth?
Okay, so first of all, you've got to have the KitchenAid mixer. There are lots of mixers out there, mixing stands. But only the KitchenAid is the KitchenAid. You gotta, and I would go with the 5.5 to 6 quart. Don't get the small little 4 quart one, because that's gonna wear you out. Now, as far as bread baking, I don't use bread machines anymore. I used to use bread machines, but I don't anymore just because I kind of like to do it myself. I use my KitchenAid with the dough hook. Let it knead the dough, let it rise in a bowl. However, if you want a good bread machine with the recipes that come with it, the Hamilton Beach bread machine is probably the most reasonable one. Now, there is, I think it's a Japanese brand called Zoshi-Rushi, Zojirushi, I think. Zoji. Anyway, that is probably, I think Cook's Illustrated recommends that one as kind of the top bread machine. Those are big ones. Now, the other thing that you need one really good chef's knife. Get a sharp one. The Japanese ones have a 15-degree blade. European ones tend to have 20-degree blades. So the 15-degree blade, you can cut sharper, more precisely. I like the Japanese carbon steel blades. They're kind of pricey. They're like $200 or so, but you want one really good one, and it will stay sharp as long as you don't use it on like porcelain or metal cutting on top of it. You got to have a good chef's knife. That'll also help you with the bread. It'll help you with everything else. But if you get the KitchenAid mixer, if you want the bread machine, one of those, get a sharp knife. Those are your great starters. And then I really do like, if you can afford it, the all-clad pots and pans. And if you can't, there's a great company called Made In, Madein. They've got their web only. You buy their stuff, their pots, their pans, their plates, everything from Made In is fantastic. Really quality stuff. I would avoid the Mizzen brand. It's become a very big brand. It's kind of a competitor to Made In. I don't like their stuff. I don't think it holds up well. But those are your big ones. If you're staying away from grilling, go with that stuff, and start with KitchenAid mixer, because that thing will never let you know. We have had ours. I'm not kidding. We have had our exact same KitchenAid 5.5 quart mixer for 15 years, and it still works like it's brand new.
Okay, and I'll look into the pots and pans, because the ones that I have are cheap, and they warp easily, and you have to constantly replace them, and I'm getting tired of that.
Yeah, the Made In, they don't warp. That and the all-clad is like a league in its own. They're really good. They're pricey, but they're fantastic. They're what chefs use in restaurants. They do not warp. Neither do the Made In.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, and Thank you, Chuck, for putting me through, and I appreciate your screen caller, and I appreciate your advice. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Thank you. My gosh, that's like Dave Ramsey for cooking over here. That's a good call, though. Takes us away from the painful stuff we have to engage with. My friends, do now have to talk about the Trump interview, whether we want to or not. Let me just, so here's the problem. When you're a lawyer, you don't want your client going off script. And Donald Trump, one of the endearing things about Donald Trump is that there is never a script. The problem was what he said about handing the documents over to the grand jury. And this is all but an admission of a felony in this exchange.
Do you know if you still have any highly sensitive government documents?
No, I don't have anything, no.
Okay.
But what I'm concerned about, they took everything, right? I don't know what they took. They could be stuffing it. I don't know what they put in there. And we wanted to be there when they were taking. They wouldn't let anybody in the room. They've never treated a president like this.
Okay. Here's the problem. Let me play this one more time for you.
Do you know if you still have any highly sensitive government documents?
No, I don't have anything, no.
Okay.
But what I'm concerned about, they took everything, right? I don't know what they took. They could be stuffing it. I don't know what they put in there. And we wanted to be there when they were taking. They wouldn't let anybody in the room.
He says he never had classified documents. Now, this seems to be a statement of that everything he had was declassified or he declassified it, except he's on the audio tape, the audio recording of Mark Meadows and his staff pointing out classified documents that he had, saying, I didn't declassify these. I could have, but I didn't, so they're classified. And then you get this.
The only way NARA could ever get this stuff, this back, would be please, could we have it back?
And they
please,
asked for that.
Because they have no, we
They
were
did
talking.
ask for it.
No, and
they said,
I gave
can you
them
give the
some,
documents back?
And we were talking.
And then they said they went to DOJ to subpoena you to get them
Which
back.
they've never done before.
Right.
And in
but
all
why not
fairness,
just hand them over then?
Because I had boxes. I want to go through the boxes and get all my personal things out. I don't want to hand that over to NARA yet. And I was very busy, as you've sort of seen.
Yeah, but
I've
according
been
to
very,
the
very
indictment,
busy.
you then tell this aide to move to other locations after telling your lawyers to say you'd fully complied with the subpoena when you hadn't.
But before I send boxes over, I have to take all of my things out. These boxes were interspersed with all sorts of things.
Oh, boy. Okay. Here's the problem. If you're a lawyer, you don't like your client to do free-form, unscripted interviews, particularly without the lawyer present to stop you from saying things you probably shouldn't. In the United States of America, under the Bill of Rights and the laws of the 50 states, you have the right not to incriminate yourself. It's called the Fifth Amendment. So when someone asks you a question, and you may incriminate yourself by answering it, you're not allowed to lie to avoid incriminating yourself. What you are allowed to do is say, I take the Fifth Amendment. And no interpretation of an admission of illegality is allowed from that. Now, you and I may interpret it as civilians saying, well, that means clearly he's trying to avoid admitting he did a crime, but in a court of law, you're not allowed to. You are not allowed to view taking the Fifth as an admission of crime. But there's more. In a criminal trial, you, the defendant, are never required to testify. You don't ever have to testify. You can make everyone else testify for you. You can bring your own witnesses. You can rebut all of the prosecutor's allegations, and you, the defendant, never have to testify. You never have to say a word in court. It is your constitutional right under the Constitution, under the federal government's U.S. code, and under the laws of the 50 states. You never have to testify against yourself or in a criminal case. You never have to testify in a criminal case. You never have to take the stand. It is your choice. However, if you do an interview on television, the prosecution can play the interview. So you are not testifying, but they're using your own words in court against you. Let's review once more.
The only way NARA could ever get this stuff, this back, would be please, 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 could we have it back?
And they
please.
The only way the National Archives could get this stuff back is to say, please, 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 can we have this?
Because they have no,
They
were
did ask
talking.
for it.
No, and
they said,
I gave
can you
them
give the
some,
documents back?
and we were talking.
And then they said they went to DOJ to subpoena you to get.
So they did ask for them, and he says no, but they did, and he gave some of them back. And then, as Bret Baier points out, they went to the Department of Justice, and they got a grand jury subpoena.
Which they've never done before.
Right.
And in
But
all
why not
fairness,
just hand them over then?
Because I had boxes. I want to go through the boxes.
So why not just hand them over when you got the grand jury subpoena? Because I have boxes, and I wanted to go through the boxes.
And get all my personal things out. I don't want to hand that over to NARA yet. And I was very busy, as you've.
I was very busy, so I did not comply with the request or subpoena.
Sort of seen.
Yeah, but
I've
according
been
to
very,
the
very
indictment,
busy.
you then tell this aide to move to other locations after telling your lawyers to say you'd fully complied with the subpoena when you hadn't.
So you told your aide to move the boxes to other locations and then tell your lawyers to tell the FBI you have complied. Why'd you do that?
Before I send boxes over, I have to take all of my things out. These
Before I send the boxes over, I got to take all my things out.
boxes were interspersed with all sorts of things.
All my personal things were in there. Oh my God, you've just admitted to a felony, you idiot. Y'all, Bret Baier Bret Baier specifically asked him, the grand jury subpoenas it. You tell your valet to move the stuff to other locations and tell your lawyers to tell the grand jury you've complied. And why did you do that? And he says, because I had to get my personal stuff out of the boxes first. That's an admission. You didn't hand the stuff over to the grand jury when requested. You stalled, and you didn't file a motion to stall. There are two things. When a grand jury subpoenas documents, you either hand the documents over or you file a motion either to quash the subpoena or to ask for more time to comply with the subpoena. He didn't file a motion to quash nor to delay. Therefore, his only legal option was to surrender them. And he tells Bret Baier instead, I was very busy and I had to go through my boxes. So that's why he moved the boxes and told the lawyers to tell the FBI that they had complied. Oh, that's not good. That's not good to admit that. The U.S. attorney, the prosecutor, the special counsel can play that audio in court. Donald Trump isn't going to testify. They probably don't want him to testify. And all the prosecutor has to do is play that audio. He admitted he moved the boxes because he still wanted to go through them. That's non-compliance with the subpoena, which is obstruction, which is a crime. This was not a smart thing for him to do. Why did he do this? Because he wanted to control the narrative. And this may be one where he can't control it. Any lawyer, any criminal lawyer is going to tell you, do not do an unscripted, free-form interview about the matter at hand. Because if you say something that contradicts your narrative, contradicts your defense, you don't have to testify in court. But the prosecutor can play the audio video of you over and over and over. And I assure you, Jack Smith already has that excerpt from the Bret Baier interview saved and ready to go to trial. That was not a smart thing for Donald Trump to do. Holy moly. Okay, we got to move on. Before I do, let me tell you about Americans for Prosperity. In fact, I want to do this because it's been a while since I've done it. So if you go to americansforprosperity.org/Eric, E-R-I-C-K, you see the website, Reignite the American Dream. They've got 36 state chapters. I've been saying 32. They got 36 state chapters. They're trying to build chapters in every state. What does AFP do? Well, you go to AFP, you learn how to be a conservative activist. They teach you how to advocate for free markets and free people. They teach you how to fight for small government at the local level, the state level, the federal level. They teach you how to be a door knocker, to go persuade your neighbors to take a stand on an issue. They teach you how to be the ultimate conservative warrior, to roll back the federal bureaucracy, roll back federal legislation. They've had over 200 legislative victories in just 2002 alone. They knocked on 1,583,000 doors in 2022 advocating for candidates who support small government. They've got over 4 million advocates in all 50 states and 36 organized state chapters. They want you to be a part of their team. Go to americansforprosperity.org/Eric, americansforprosperity.org/ERICK. Greetings, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. Wherever you are in the nation, they can help your business grow. So if you're buying a building, building a building, buying a franchise, expanding a franchise, buying out a competitor or a business partner, let First Liberty be your one-stop shop. They make their own lending decisions. If your lender's giving you a hard time, reach out to them. If you need $250,000 or more, it is firstlibertyga.com is the website, firstlibertyga.com. Let them spend 10 minutes with you. See if it works for you, if you're a good fit for them for you. They're good people. They want to help your business grow. Now, we got to move on. We got a lot more stuff there. There's some other stuff about the Trump interview. One of them, let me just play this audio for you. Do I have time to play this audio? No. I'm gonna let this marinate and get back to it. So when we come back, a couple of more sound bites. They're actually, one of them really funny. It was somewhat of a contentious interview. In fact, Trump needled Bret Baier on the collapse of Fox's ratings, among other things. So we'll get into that, and we got to deal with RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr. There's a lot of buzz about him. The media has come calling. A lot of Trump supporters are thinking they may cross over and support the guy. And a lot of the vaccine conspiracy theorist people have really embraced Robert Kennedy Jr. And part of what's going on here is how much we as a people forget how bad it was before the advent of vaccines. There has not been a lot of data out there, really none, to suggest, for example, your standard MMR vaccines cause autism and the like, but people insist it. Robert Kennedy Jr. has championed it, and the conspiracy theorists of the world are uniting around a guy who, if you actually knew what he stood for on some of the issues, you would be incensed that some people on the right have decided he's their guy. It's kind of a weird thing that's happening.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.